Hey! 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 This is library.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 of Tell Me About That Book podcast. Short conversations about some of the best books on personal growth, mindset, fitness, and business topics with some of the leaders in the fitness industry. Today we're going to be talking about Craig Ballantyne's The Perfect Day Formula. Remember, you can go to tellmeaboutthatbook.com. On there will be a link for the readitfor.me book summary of today's book, which is The Perfect Day Formula. So you'll get a free summary when you go there. Just got to sign up there. It's free, and you can get today's book. And any money made with sponsorships or affiliate links for this podcast is going to go directly to Inner City Weightlifting, and you can find out more about them at tellmeaboutthatbook.com. All right, for today's show, I have on Alwyn Cosgrove, and Alwyn is the co-owner of Results Fitness in Santa Clarita, California, which has been twice named one of America's top gyms by Men's Health magazine. He's co-authored 5 books in the New Rules of Lifting series, and he currently spends his time consulting on fitness training, training clients, training his staff at Results Fitness, speaking on the fitness lecture circuit, and reading. Alwyn, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, man. Always fun.
All right, well, good book to pick here. Craig Ballantyne's The Perfect Day Formula. Kind of changed the way I was doing some things. We'll talk about that later, but give us a good summary of this book.
I think the best way to describe it, and as a quick disclaimer, I've known Craig for a long time.
Yep.
The best way to describe it is, in order to have a great workout, you have to pick great exercises and have to do a great set of each exercise. And within that set, you got to do a good repetition. And if you can master that repetition, you can master the set, you can master the exercise, and you can master the workout. And that's the best analogy for fitness trainers that I can come up with, is that what Craig has really done here is, in order to have the perfect life, you need to break that down into actionable steps. And the smallest unit is the day. Like, if you can master your day and create this perfect day and execute it, which is, the concept makes sense to a lot of people, but how do you actually do that? Like, once you can do that and you create this perfect day and you script it out, you develop your perfect life. That's really the best way to describe it.
Absolutely. And I think, perfect day, and it's kind of like a disclaimer in the book too with Craig. Like, he doesn't mean the perfect day. It's not going to be a perfect day. It's going to be just, you want to have a formula, because I love the whole structure equals freedom. That was kind of an aha moment for me.
Yeah, that was the same one to me, is because one of my personal goals, one of my personal sort of driving satisfaction things for my lifestyle is to have autonomy and freedom. And which I translated into not having any structure, which means you're reacting to everything, and that you have zero freedom because you're responsive to anything that happens rather than making your own rules, right?
Yeah, so true. I mean, because you're running around without, just kind of, you're not really in control of anything when that happens. And by controlling, that's what he wants you to do. And he talks about that. Control your morning, conquer the chaos of the afternoon, and concentrate on what matters in the evenings. But let's stay with control your mornings, because for me, one of the things was, I worked in the bar business for so long, and I had this association. I had this self-limiting belief about myself that I was not a morning person. And it honestly wasn't until I read this book, it was about 14 months ago, that I decided to try it, because I like the way he gets you. He kind of tricks you into waking up earlier. He's like, just get up 15 minutes earlier and tackle your biggest priority. Well, first of all, you're not going to tackle your biggest priority in 15 minutes, but it's kind of like, I used to tell people, just on your day off, give me 15 minutes of the treadmill or the elliptical. And I knew that they'd probably go on for 20 or 25 or a half hour. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is the same thing. It's like, I was like 15 minutes, but I like that he's taking baby steps with this.
Yeah, well, I think there's a part of this where it becomes about changing your identity. Like you said, I'm not a morning person, right? I've got an athlete that I work with who lives in Hollywood, and her identity is that she's a single girl who lives down in Hollywood, but she doesn't go out at night. She goes to bed early and she trains hard, and she gets up early and she comes in to train. But her identity, her breakthrough as an athlete is when we switch that identity, that you are not a single girl who parties. You're an athlete who happens to live here, right? Although nothing else changed. Like your belief system was, I'm not a morning person. Yep. You're like, but that was just based on absolutely nothing at all, right?
Exactly.
So one of the things that I wrote down is that the short-term pain or discomfort is what leads to long-term gains and pleasure. And long-term pain and discomfort just comes from stealing those short-term gains. So that little 15 minutes in the morning that you don't get up early, that you hit the snooze button, right? You know, you start off late, you steal more sleep, you don't get more energy, you start off late, you regret it all day. So when you get up a little bit early, you know, you win your morning, and then you own your days, and you, as Craig says, you conquer the chaos of the afternoon, and it frees you up to do whatever you want in your evenings and weekends. And so it's just take that little identity switch is the key, that you're going to become a different person, you know. But it's that the part that I got was I always felt I was disciplined. I always felt like I did work, but I didn't really go into the morning with a strategy, right? That Craig's about. You script out your first action steps tonight for tomorrow morning, and you get up and you don't check email and you don't check your voicemail, and you just start executing towards your biggest challenge. And it's the part that I got it was, you're not going to finish your biggest challenge, but I'll make progress towards things. And I think that's similar to what you said is, hey, let me just spend 15 minutes on this presentation, and then you're in the zone, right? And you end up like you do a solid 30 minutes or an hour, and you're actually making big progress. Because it's easy to be reactive. It's easy to check email or, you know, have a quick look at SportsCenter before you get started, right? So a lot of it's just about discipline.
Absolutely. It's kind of interesting because, you know, we had Steve Cunningham on last episode, and he did the book The One Thing. Are you familiar with The One Thing?
Yeah, that's a really good book. I like that one too.
And it kind of complements this as well. Like, kind of, you know, it kind of gives you some direction about what that morning should look like. It's funny though. There's a lot, like if you listen to Tony Robbins, he's always talked about, you know, the hour of power or the 15 minutes of whatever, or, you know, a half hour, like kind of wanting you to exercise or do some incantations or just some, you know, some journaling, etc. Everybody seems to be recommending the journaling anyway, like the gratitude journaling. But Craig, you know, there's the Miracle Morning right now that came out. Yeah. And there's so many people kind of recommending these morning routines. Craig, I saw a video that Craig put on recently about just kind of like, whoa, we're getting a little out of control with this whole morning routine of like, you know, 10 minutes of meditation and then 15 minutes of incantation and then 20 minutes of exercise and yoga and then, you know, 30 minutes of a gratitude journal. And then before you know it, it's like 11 o'clock and, you know, you haven't started yet, and it's like we take things too far.
Well, and Craig, be the first to admit it. This isn't new. This is based on some Roman teachings, like from the past. From the Stoicism, and he goes. So it's not new, but it's just, as with everything, right? We got away from it. People were getting up and going into work late and checking email and reacting, and then you haven't started anything till 11. And then we go this extreme pendulum swing the other way where you're up at 3 with this extremely structured morning, and we've overreacted again, and you're still not getting anything done till 11 because you're too busy journaling, right? Sometimes you have to put some action into it. And I get... What I've found is I've been doing this thing. It's from another book called The Artist's Way, and it's called Morning Pages, where you get up and you just write without censorship, and no one gets to see what you write. You write anything that's in your head. And the idea is just to do a clearing out of your thoughts and get it on paper. You're not writing for anyone to see. You're just doing like a free-flowing mind dump. And I think that's been powerful tying in with Craig's thing, is it was like I was able to clear the calculator right? Like that's the phrase I've heard is you hit, all clear on your calculator, and it goes back to zero and you get a clean slate, right? Or clearing your workspace. Because it's easy for me to look at my desk and see how quickly books and papers start to pile up. So that little morning ritual of just sort of clearing the headspace has been real powerful for me. And then getting my biggest action step every morning is to clear the headspace so that you can start from a clean area and get action done. And part of it is, Craig talks about the 3 C's, and number 1 is control the controllables, right? Control what you can, which is really your morning. And I found this at the gym too. Although physiology is physiology, the clients that work out in the morning tend to not get any interruptions, tend to not cancel unless they're really sick or something, because nothing interrupts them. They just, the first thing they do is go to the gym. Now, I've got guys in the evening who train really hard and they're really consistent, but the likelihood of something coming up at 6 a.m. when you got up at 5:30 is much slimmer than if you got up at 5:30 and trained at 7 p.m., So the big thing is if you control the morning, you control the day.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And it's one of those things. It's why I decided that like 5:30 was a time for me, because you're right. You don't really get any distractions that early. And if another thing was, it's funny, another book, kind of Deep Work, and we're going to be talking about that book eventually with Nick Winkelman. And, Deep Work was just kind of like, at the end of the day, like taking 90-minute blocks and just like shutting the door, finding a place where it's, where you might not do other work, where you just go in there for deep work only, let's say. And and you just go in and, you don't have the phone, you don't have anything, and you could do what you have to do. But it's one of those things where, getting it, if you can do it early and in this 90-minute block, because even like if you read 4 Disciplines of Execution, it's another one along these same lines of the one thing, etc. They understand that there's this quote unquote whirlwind, right? Of there's all these millions of little things we're still going to have to do. Right? Mm-hmm. It's like saying you're going to be a trainer and you're not going to have to open QuickBooks and do marketing and, deal with the landlord and all this other crap. So there is all of these other things, but if you can get it into that system, and like we said, if you can do it early, it's great. And Craig talks about systems. I love that one where he's like, he has the numbers, and I forget, I think it's like 10 hours before bed, stop drinking caffeine. Then it goes like 3, 2, 1. It's like 3 before bed, stop eating and drinking. 2 before bed, stop working. 1 hour before bed, turn off all the phones, TVs, and computers. And then in the morning, don't press the snooze button. So it goes, 10, 3, 2, 1, 0 or something like that.
Well, I think that's his, as you're saying, there are going to be other things. The one thing is the one primary thing. Like the planning of the day is the main thing. Yeah. But I mean, it's like that Pareto Principle, the 80-20 rule. Mm-hmm. Well, you still can't build only 80% of a bridge. Right? Yeah. That's an income. You still have to do the other part, but there is this identification of the big tasks. And I think what Craig did a great job of is, and you touched on that with the 10-3-2-1-0, is they're his own rules. You don't have to have them. Yeah. But we follow rules all the time. Like you don't run red lights. Like there's certain things that you do all the time that shape a framework to make you successful. You're not like, you don't murder people, you don't steal. Like there's things that we do based on laws that are just rules that in our existence. And Craig talks about create your own rules. Like what are your own rules? Like what time are you going to go to bed? What time are you going to get up? And like if you decide you're getting up at 5:30, then that's the rule. And that's when you have to get up. And you can create your own rules. And it sounds in the beginning when you first start getting into the book, you get a little like resistant, like to this much. I'm back to working for someday, right? But it's the reverse actually happens. I mean, the Dead Poets Society movie, Carpe Diem, seize the day. Well, you can't seize the day without a plan or without some structure as to how we're going to execute that. And that's really the big. It's hard to summarize a great book in this short period of time, but that's what I'm trying to do. Is that you can have a perfect day tomorrow if you just execute a few preparation steps this evening and have a few rules in place that you're not going to break, your own rules. No one else is putting them on you. And then everything comes together.
The rules kind of reminded me, I was thinking about you guys, what you guys had taught about core values and the importance of core values. And the rules were similar in terms of, you can always also look to your decisions based on your core values. So like, I think you had made the point of like, all right, we want to get a new TV in this corner here, but okay, is a new TV going to make this the best part of my client's day? No, it's not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it doesn't fit in with my
doesn't
own
fit in.
rules,
Yeah.
which is our core values, right?
Yeah. So I love that kind of analogy of the two. But let me ask you before we go one more in terms of the thing with that I couldn't do, and I've kind of adjusted this from based on other people like Michael Hyatt talking about like that night before. I think you can be deceived into thinking, okay, right before you go to bed, write what you should be doing, which I think would be a big mistake. It's really like pick a time that what's your rule for leaving? Is it 5:30? Is it 4 o'clock in the afternoon? And take that last 15 minutes to do your next day's planning, not at home. Like once you go home, man, try to shut it down.
That's you know what, that's really powerful, and it's something actually that I'll be honest, over the time I've actually struggled with, because my business partner is, as most people know, is my wife, and we have a home office, and at 8 at night I wouldn't drive back to work to talk to, if I had another business partner, to talk to them about things that are going on at work,
Yeah.
right? But I have no problem with running up to the home office for a little while and then coming back down and distracting Rachel with something that I've got some great idea that I've just thought of,
Yeah.
So that's the part. There has to be part of the discipline has to be when you're not at work. What's your not to-do list, right? I think that's the part. I think I got asked once on probably by yourself, because we've done so many of these podcasts, that how do you get so much done? And part of my strength, I think, at the time was people will be surprised at what I don't do. It looks like I'm doing a lot, but I'm actually very structured with a not to do list and things that I won't do. So I think the planning out the night before, I think that's a part that doesn't get really the real attention. It's not like before you go to bed mapping out your morning at work so you're never switched off. It's before you switch off from being the business guy or businessman, gender neutral terms here on on this podcast. But you're not just going to react to what comes in tomorrow. We're going to have the first thing we're doing tomorrow is this. And I found with that, I sleep better because the stuff I'm thinking about is out of my head on a piece of paper. I'm like, that's going to be handled tomorrow at 8 a.m. I don't need to think about it anymore, and it really does clear your head. And I think that's the phrase that you started with, is that you want freedom and you want autonomy and you just want to have a nice life. But the more structure you can put in, it actually creates more freedom. And it's counterintuitive in the beginning, but it actually is very true when you get into it.
Absolutely. So good stuff. Definitely a great book. Highly recommended. Craig Ballantyne's The Perfect Day Formula. So Alwyn, thanks for coming on and talking about, you've always been somebody who's been recommending all these great books for everybody in our business. So we really appreciate you coming on.
All right. Thanks very much for having me, buddy.
All right, well, that's going to do it for episode 2 of Tell Me About That Book. Remember, go to tellmeaboutthatbook.com to get the link for the readitfor.me book summary. It's free. You just got to sign up. You get today's summary for the Perfect Day Formula. So thanks to Alwyn Cosgrove for coming on and sharing his thoughts and discussing the Perfect Day Formula. Any money made with the sponsorships of this podcast will go directly to Inner City Weightlifting. You can find out more at tellmeaboutthatbook.com. My name's Anthony Renna. Thanks so much, and talk to you next time.